Good. Without further ado, we're moving along very well here. I hope we'll have plenty of time for discussion and questions. Our fourth and final speaker before we begin our panel discussion is David Wright. He is Director of Strategic Developments at Coventry University in the UK. He's going to be talking to us about supply chain opportunities and challenges in transport technologies. David.
Thank you, Terry. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see some friendly faces in the audience, people that have come a long way, so it's good to see everyone here. In his introduction this morning, Sunil promised you some expert speakers from academia, from policy making, from industry, which is heard from Chris. Regretfully, I'm none of those. I'm not an academic. I'm no longer from industry. I no longer work properly for a living. I have nothing to do with policy, and I'm not even an expert, but I'm a generalist. I'm a vehicles guy, a bit of a petrol head. My understanding of transport is, you could write on the head of a pin. But what I do have is some opinions, and I'm not going to trouble you with loads of facts and loads of statistics, and what I really hope is that you'll all disagree with me, because what I really love is a good argument. So I'm looking forward to the panel session. Okay, go. Yep. No, do the other, next couple as well, and the other. Yeah, that's great. Right. So opportunities and challenges in the supply chain. Now, this is one area where I do have some experience, and I'm going to look at this from primarily the SME perspective, because the SMEs, as you all know, bear the brunt of trying to get some of these technologies to market and do the innovation and the development, etc. And rather than look at specific technologies, because there are just too many to pick out and focus on, I'm going to look at where the opportunities exist, what generates the opportunities. And when it comes to challenges, again, I'm not going to focus on a specific technology and say how hard it is or how easy it is. But really, I'm going to get a bit more generalist about how introducing technology in the supply chain is difficult and the sorts of things that make it difficult. You've seen these statistics already. Other people have presented it better than I have. But really, the opportunities in the supply chains are going to come from the growth in the demand. We've seen the population growth. Other people have shown you these figures. Interestingly, during this period, the projections for the population in Europe is fairly flat. So the population growth is elsewhere. From a vehicles perspective, my incomplete table, because I said I'm not an academic, just really shows, you look at these particular areas, China and India, the growth in vehicles per 1,000 head of population has been dramatic. People want to travel. People want personal mobility. And with that growth become the opportunities. Just go through all three. Great. So areas like how do we deal with congestion and capacity? As more vehicles hit the roads, as more transport hits the roads, we are going to get more congested. How do we create the capacity for vehicles to travel? So opportunities are going to come in the supply chain there. Multimodality has been mentioned a couple of times already, better than I. So there are things that we've got to create the technologies and the innovations that are going to answer these problems, and business models. I mean, it's not just about technology; it's about the way we do business, the sorts of interactions that we're going to have, and how do we make buying a journey as easy as getting a takeaway pizza? Because at the moment, if our experience of getting here yesterday was anything to go by, it's not easy. Yet every different mode we have to deal with differently. From leaving our house to jumping in our car to parking our car to getting the bus to getting the aeroplane to getting the taxi, it's a series of individual transactions, none of which are truly linked together. What I'd really like to do is say, I just want to go from A to B, and I want someone else to deal with all the junctions, all the mixing of the modes, and I just want to get there on time, I want to get there relaxed, and I want to get there economically. So on the business models, I think this was mentioned earlier, that mobility as a service rather than buying cars actually finds a lot of favour. 72% of respondents to the KPMG Global Survey said mobility as a service is a great alternative to car ownership. And I agree with Wanda earlier that I think we will see a massive change in the way in which we use the car, and we will talk about use rather than ownership. Now, as someone that's come from the motor industry, as someone who's made cars for a living in the past, I find that a little bit uncomfortable, because all my mates who are still working at Jaguar Land Rover are going to be making fewer cars, and I'm not sure that that's a really good thing. It is really, but okay. I did say I wouldn't mention specific technologies, but just to pick out a few that again have been mentioned. All of these create opportunities in the supply chain. RFID, improvements in GPS, cloud computing's been mentioned, proximity detection Chris has spoken about, he said collision avoidance, communications, vehicle-to-vehicle communications, vehicle-to-infrastructure, vehicle-to-passenger, that all of these things, control systems, etc., are going to generate opportunities in the supply chain. And it's how we actually get the supply chain to engage, which is the issue. So, if we have these opportunities, why aren't we falling over ourselves? Why aren't we just sort of bumping into serial innovators and entrepreneurs who are bringing these technologies to market? Why isn't it available now if the need is so obvious? And it's because the challenges are, well, they're challenging. It's hard. It's difficult. Get on to the next one. Just get the... Okay. So these are generic issues. These aren't specific to transport technologies. These are things that SMEs, that any technology company, that any entrepreneur faces. Access to finance. I think we've been through a dreadful period over the last few years. We've seen the economic impacts of recession. We know just how difficult it is for SMEs to finance innovation. Access to market. Does the market know what it wants? And if it does, how do we get there? Innovation itself, the innovation process is difficult and difficult to manage. There are concerns, particularly in the SME environment, about ownership of IP. And time, a very precious commodity, and I've got this one up already. And where is the supply chain for transport technologies? See, I can very easily identify the supply chain for automotive components. I can very easily identify the supply chain for aerospace components or building, whatever it is. But transport technologies actually is a series of supply chains. It's a supply base as far as I'm concerned, because it's just not as well connected as a chain as a lot of these established supply chains already are. So the technologies we're talking about are so disparate that to establish and identify the transport technology supply chain, I think, is a challenge in itself. So the question is actually, where is it? How do we find it? How do we identify it? And do companies actually recognise they're in it? So, innovation, some of the challenges surrounding innovation. Stevens and Burnley, in their paper, 3,000 raw ideas equals 1 commercial success. Those are the problems we face with innovation. 3,000 ideas generate 100 projects, which become 2 product launches, of which 1 is successful. 3,000 to 1. And why is transport technologies going to be any different? One of 3 launch projects failed despite research and planning. So doing the right things up front, there's still no guarantee of success. And the last one, I think, 46% of all resources allocated to new products is spent on failed products. Innovation is not easy. Innovation is expensive. Access to market. And we get the Steve Jobs quote about, we've got to tell people what it is they want. I think many people in the room have probably seen this before. Actually, the market sometimes is so busy doing what it's always done that it's closed to innovation. So here we have So the medieval knights about to fight their battle with their horses and swords, and too busy to talk to the guy selling them the machine gun. IP ownership, as I mentioned, SMEs are really worried about losing their IP to large companies and think that large companies are there to steal their IP. So if property is theft, is intellectual property intellectual theft? I don't know. Tenacity. I love this example. This guy is a hero. This is Ron Hickman, who invented the Workmate, which is now sold millions across the world. Most people have probably got one or something similar in their garages. Ron Hickman touted that brilliant invention at car boot sales, at craft fairs for 8 years, between 1973 and 81, before a large company, Black & Decker, finally took the product up and commercialized it and turned it into the great success it is. You may wonder why the picture of the Lotus Elan is there, and it's not just because I'm a petrol head. Actually, Ron Hickman was the chief designer at Lotus Cars and designed that car and many others. So this wasn't some, as what we call in the UK, a Fred in a shed. This guy was an experienced professional designer and still had issues with a great product. So tenacity is important. I like that one, but okay. And just a couple of things on innovation that, yeah, even the best get it wrong. We talk about a lot of great companies who we see as serial innovators and being very successful. Just the next one. We're talking about personal mobility. You know, you probably remember this from an early 60s James Bond film. As a personal mobility solution, this looked great, but we're not all doing this. I think one of the great commercial failures of all time, New Coke. Did anyone ever drink it? Does anyone remember it? This is the great example. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And resulted in Coke losing millions, billions in sales to Pepsi. Pepsi absolutely adored New Coke. You probably all remember this. I mean, this is go. No, that's okay. Sort of technologies that have gone. Back in the days of video recorders, the Betamax system was the better system, but failed because of market acceptance. Having the better product does not always mean that you're going to dominate the marketplace. And did anyone have one of these? The Apple Newton. Probably one of the smartest ever products to fail. And they killed by the killer feature. The reference catching on or egg freckles refers to a Doonesbury cartoon. And it's someone doing the handwriting recognition was the killer feature of the Apple Newton. And the joke cartoon was someone writing catching on their Newton being translated as egg freckles. So it's a little bit of an anorak fact, I'm afraid, but one that I like. So great product, actually, whose technology was unsupportable. I mentioned time. My experience of SMEs is that most of them would rather give you money than time. Time is the most precious commodity that SMEs have. So when we're trying to get SMEs engaged in innovation, in new products, in new technologies, in transport, please don't underestimate how difficult it is for them to talk to you. So, what do we do about it? We have to persevere. It's hard. So we've got to keep at it. We've got to keep pressing the agenda. We've got to keep providing with people with the information. We've got to encourage. There are a lot of very good, very bright companies, very bright individuals out there that we need to be a part of this agenda. We need to have them working with us. We have to engage them. We have to engage the customer base, as people have already said. No one is going to take this because we tell them it's a good idea. Customer base has got to recognise the benefit of doing what we're doing. Collaboration, projects like this are a fantastic example of what you can achieve by collaborating across different areas of expertise in different countries, and support. And it's just to echo Joanna's point from earlier on, that Horizon 2020, I think, is the best news that we're getting. That 619 million euros is being earmarked for SME innovation. We've just got to make sure we do it properly. And I'd like to leave you with perhaps a slightly different definition of optimism. And as we say, never give up, ever. And if we're going to succeed, we are going to have to kiss a lot of frogs. Thank you very much.